The food pyramid we grew up with is perfectly designed to make us fat. Here's a picture of the 1980s food pyramid that I grew up with. Look familiar? Any diet that follows the food pyramid is going to make you fat and keep you fat. See, at the bottom of the pyramid are carbohydrates. Bread, pasta, waffles. God, I just feel myself getting fatter just thinking about this stuff, which is supposed to be the bulk of what we eat. All those carbs and sugars basically program our bodies to store fat. So even if you eat a no-fat diet, check out the top of the pyramid, you're still going to pack on the pounds because eliminating fat is not the answer. I finally understood why I couldn't lose weight. Now, modern science has made some changes to this pyramid, but unless you do this one thing, you're still not going to lose weight. I'm about to share a shocking revelation with you that has so far helped me lose 85 pounds. I'm feeling great and looking better than I have since I was 15. What's the secret? Eat more fat.
Shows us that fat is actually good for human beings. If you're eating good, healthy types of fat.
Just like Dr. Ken Berry says, fat is actually good for human beings. Hear me out, okay? I know, fats and especially saturated fats have been demonized for a couple of decades, but it's all wrong. Eating fat does not make you fat. Eating fat does not give you heart disease. See, there's a lot that goes into weight gain and diseases. We can't just blame one isolated food group. In other words, fat is not the demon it's made out to be. This 2017 study said, reducing saturated fat has become a cornerstone of dietary recommendations for cardiovascular disease, CVD, risk reduction. However, evidence from observational studies and randomized clinical trials demonstrates that replacing saturated fat with carbohydrates, specifically refined, has no benefit on CVD risk. Now, this doesn't mean you get to go on a bacon bender. There's more to it. If you're going to eat more fat in order to lose fat, you have to eat less of the stuff that actually makes you fat. Can you guess what that is? If you guessed carbs, you're right. I started replacing carbs with foods high in fat and veggies.
So today we're going to talk about the benefits of being on a high-fat diet. One thing to realize is that when you're fasting, you are on a very high-fat diet because your body is breaking down the adipose tissue and turning it into fatty acids and then ketones.
Fat is the perfect energy source because it's a slow-burning fuel, unlike sugar, which makes you run around like a toddler high on candy. And then you crash and reach for more carbs to regain energy. When I started eating fats and cutting out carbs, I started losing weight immediately. It just melted off my body. Even better, my carb cravings completely vanished because my body was so well-fueled. Now, at this point, you're probably shaking your head and thinking I'm totally nuts. That's just because you've been taught that food pyramid too. And that, as we now know, is completely backwards. Dr. Mark Hyman wrote a book, Eat Fat, Get Thin.
Our government told us to eat 6 to 11 servings of bread, rice, cereal, and pasta today, to eat a low-fat diet, and fats and oils were sparingly only at the top supposed to be eaten. And yet that advice led to the worst obesity epidemic and diabetes epidemic in the history of mankind.
Here's what happens when 90% of the food you consume contains fat. First thing, you immediately feel satisfied. Fat coats the mouth and make whatever else you eat linger on your taste buds for an explosion of flavor. So eating becomes more pleasurable. But hang on, let's move down the digestive tract. As fat moves into your stomach, it slows how quickly food is emptied into the small intestine.
And the fats haven't been digested yet until they really reach the stomach to duodenum.
These stick-to-your-ribs fats keep you full longer. You'll be less likely to grab an extra slice of dessert. Moving into the small intestine, the fats are slowly broken down into smaller fatty acids that travel through the bloodstream. I mentioned energy. You'll have tons of energy when you eat fats, but not the hyper sugar-crazed kind. It's a slow burn, all day long energy. Carbs are like a turbo rocket. Fats are like diesels that can go all day. Again, less snacking, less hangry periods between meals. Whatever fat you don't use immediately for energy is stored, but, and this is super important, your body will turn to fat as its primary source of energy once you start eating less carbs. That means you'll be burning more fat than you store.
Fatty acids are essential fatty acids, which means they must be gotten from the diet. Your body can't make these fats, okay?
As the fats meander through the bloodstream, they're broken down into fatty acids where they perform dozens of essential functions, including brain function, the immune response, and cell growth. These are benefits that you don't get if you cut out all the fats from your diet. Some of the vitamins you probably supplement with are fat-soluble. These include vitamin D. So if you don't eat fats, you're just peeing out that vitamin D supplement. Now, what about good fats and bad fats? Let's just say moderation is a good thing. Many people who do eat fats and then develop high cholesterol tend to eat a lot of animal-based fats and not enough plant-based fats. I mean, I get it. Bacon is about as heavenly as a food can get. But moderation. Let's do it. Fats are found in a lot of foods. Take olive oil, for example. And I mean the top shelf brands which aren't diluted with vegetable oil. Snippet from article. Those who consumed more olive oil also had 17% lower risk of cancer mortality, 29% lower risk of neurodegenerative mortality, such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease, and 18% lower risk of respiratory mortality, compared with those who never or rarely consumed it. Substantial evidence is accruing to support the widespread opinion that extra virgin olive oil should, indeed, be the fat of choice when it comes to human health and sustainable agronomy. If you down half a shot glass of olive oil every other day, you will be amazed at how great you feel. There are sufficient studies reporting that the use of virgin olive oil as the only culinary fat, ingested in a moderate and continuous way, was associated with a reduced body mass index. It can reduce your chances of getting several types of cancer, cardiovascular disease, autoimmune inflammatory diseases, including rheumatoid arthritis. Now, I'm not suggesting that olive oil is the only type of fat you can consume. You can eat your butter and bacon. Now, I know you're balking a bit because all your life you've been told that saturated fats were terrible for you, but actually, they're vital to your health.
Why saturated fats are actually healthy for you, okay? Palmitic acid. This is the one that everyone says is bad for you, but it's a main structural component of your cells. Saturated fats are hormonal precursors. They're the building blocks to make hormones. Saturated fats are very necessary for your immune system.
You can eat animal-derived fats like eggs, cheese, whole milk, and full-fat yogurt.
So now let's talk about the benefits of eggs and why you should be eating eggs. Number one, the protein in eggs is superior. And what I'm talking about is the anabolic effect, which means the ability of that egg to help build protein tissues in your body, and the percentage of how much that egg protein is converted into body protein.
But also remember that plant-based fats are just as deliciously satisfying, with one caveat. Stay away from vegetable oils, which are incredibly harmful. Wow, that blew me away. So I went straight to the pantry and tossed the canola oil, corn oil, peanut oil, soy oil, and palm oil. You paused the video and did that too, right? That left me with coconut oil and olive oil. And really, what more do you need? Nuts, cheese, avocados, seeds, and dark chocolate round out the list of the top fatty plant foods that are incredibly satisfying. So even when your diet is 90% foods that are loaded with fat, which is probably terrifying to most people, remember you're also getting an incredible variety of essential micronutrients that your body needs. And your brain will benefit too.
It can feed the brain tissue and the heart tissue.
What about the rest of your diet? Veggies, and more veggies. Not a fan? Cook them up with foods that contain fat and you're good to go.
in getting all the vegetables in your body and making them less boring.
Now that you know what eating fat does for your body, and that includes serious weight loss, are you ready to give it a try? Flip the outdated 80s food pyramid upside down. Make sure the bulk of your diet is fatty foods and vegetables, and